Have you ever sat in an important management meeting and quietly wondered whether any of this is making any sense? If you have, this channel is for you. Welcome to Meme Guide to Management, the most honest conversation about management you're likely to have this whole year. Where memes, we believe, are the most serious thing about what we do. My name is Sultan, and I've spent more than 20 years inside the world of management. Consulting firms, private equity, startups, built from nothing, and in some cases, returned to nothing. And after all that experience, me and my comrades had a need to create the Meme Guide. Channel that exists to address a very particular, almost physical feeling that most of us working in management know all too well, even though we rarely speak about it directly. It is a feeling of sitting in a meeting, surrounded by confident people, using sophisticated language, discussing management decisions, and quietly wondering whether any of this is actually working. Not whether we understand what we're talking about, we understand it perfectly, whether it's actually working. If that's the feeling you have ever felt, stay with us and learn why this channel is for you. So why do we feel this way? And why we shouldn't feel bad about this? Some context helps here. You see, the discipline of management is by historical standards extraordinarily young.
Hello, other grown-up.
Barely 70 years old. We are, by and large, students of a very young, ever-evolving craft. And in those 70 years it has existed, something very interesting has happened. We've built an enormous apparatus around practice of managing people. Business schools on every continent, thousands of courses across hundreds of platforms, entire industry of management gurus and consulting sector worth $2 trillion, whose entire purpose is to help organizations do what organizations apparently cannot figure out how to do on their own. And yet, Gallup surveys workers in 140 countries every year. And what they consistently find is that 8 in 10 people describe themselves as either not engaged or actively disengaged from their work, checked out, present in body, absent in everything else. We managers are a part of $2 trillion apparatus, and most people still feel on Monday morning a particular and a familiar dread. We have therefore put on ourselves in this channel a Sisyphean task to help fix this monumental problem. Most managers, including the ones who appear most assured, are operating under a constant low hum of uncertainty. Uncertain whether they are doing the right things. Uncertain whether the frameworks they've been given actually describe the organizations they're trying to lead. Uncertain in their more honest moments whether anyone truly knows what good management looks like. This is not a personal failure. It is an entirely predictable consequence of a discipline that has, for most of its short history, prioritized the appearance of rigor over substance of it, that has generated ever more complicated ways of saying simple things, and that has somewhere along the way quietly removed the 2 most important ingredients essential to managing human beings. Those are common sense and moral seriousness. I've spent 20 years inside this world, and what I've kept observing in boardrooms, in postmortems, in quiet conversations that happen after meeting ends is that people most visibly confident in their management frameworks were very often people least connected to what actually was going on in their organizations. While the people doing the actual work of managing, the ones staying late, the ones having difficult conversations, the ones carrying the weight of other people's uncertainty, were largely doing so without adequate tools. There is a phrase for the strategy most commonly adopted in the absence of those tools. Fake it till you make it. It's said as a joke, it's not a joke. We created the Meme Guide to Management to address this. Not, and this matters, to make management simpler than it is, but to make it as simple as it actually is. Because the great irony of modern management education is that it has taken a discipline which at its core about human beings and how they work together and buried it under a language so specialized, so protected by its own complexity that the very people who need it the most cannot access it. And this is where memes come in. Memes, we would argue, are modern equivalent of a parable. They do what parables have always done. They take something true and complicated and give it a form that the mind can hold onto. A shape that travels across cultures, generations, across 6 seconds of attention. That is all most of us have to spare. They're not jokes dressed up as wisdom. They're wisdom that has finally learned to be brief. This channel and the book it's working towards are organized around 4 convictions. The first is that management has accumulated an enormous amount of theater, rituals, frameworks, language that look like management without doing the work of it. We intend to name this theater for what it actually is. Second is that organizations are systems, and that most management problems are not people problems, but system problems that we have incorrectly blamed on people. Understanding this difference changes everything. Third is that capacity to understand other human beings, to take their inner life seriously, to resist enormous temptation to reduce them to performance metrics is not a soft skill, it's the central skill. Without it, nothing else works. And the fourth, and the one that management literature has been most reluctant to discuss, is that being a good manager and being a good person are not separate projects. Peter Drucker, the father of management science, understood this 70 years ago. This field has spent most of the time since trying to forget it. We are going to remember it. This channel is for a very specific kind of person. It's for the manager who already suspects in their quieter moments that something is not quite right. With the frameworks they've been given, with organizations they're working in, with the gap between what management is supposed to look like and what it actually feels like from the inside. It's for the person who has sat in that meeting, the one we started with, and felt that particular, specific, unspoken doubt. And if that person is you, please know, you're not wrong to feel it. And you're not alone in feeling it. This channel, through all of its incarnations, reels, lessons, newsletters, will help you dissect one by one the science of management, and hopefully leave you not with management frameworks, but with something more important, something that is almost entirely absent from management training today. It is something is good intuition, not the mystical variety, not the instinct of the gifted few who seem to know everything, the developed variety, that kind that comes from having thought carefully and honestly about recurring situations until the pattern becomes visible. Learn, practice, intuit the management craft, because management is too important to be left to management gurus or the management clergy. I'm Sultan, and this is Meme Guide to Management. Let us begin.